Okay, let's talk about making energy, especially making electricity for houses. First off, before I start talking about how to make energy, let's talk about uh, the fact that Tesla invented a unipolar electricity that can be taken right out of the air. So anything that we do up till that, and he actually did it. He did it with his tower in New Jersey that was destroyed after they found out that it couldn't make any money for the for Westinghouse. But let's go back, and if we're going to do dual 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 line electricity, which means that you got a positive and a negative line, uh, and it has to be generated, which is not a good thing. Uh, but if we're gonna generate electricity, thorium is the way to go. As far as I can see, nothing else seems to come close to it. Uranium is very hard to come by, and not only that, but it does produce some wastes that are pretty damn dangerous. Store and all of our nuclear plants store their depleted uranium right on the site. And if we started using thorium, we could actually reuse that uranium that's there and get rid of the waste. So it's got some really great things about it. We want to. We would like to be able to generate electricity from what we call alternative means, and none of them have any long-term benefits that I can see. The closest thing we've got is PVC panels, and photovoltaics. It was a great invention, but it just doesn't. It's useful and for a lot of things like buoys out in the ocean where you can't get to them with a line. For houses in in mountains where there's no power lines. It wouldn't be useful if we went to a unipolar electricity where they could get electricity delivered there in the air. Now, wind energy is interesting stuff. I've been involved in wind energy since I found out about it in 1969 or something like that. And the problem with it, of course, is that wind doesn't come in at any particular speed. It changes every day, as we know. And if it's too high, it'll blow out the windmill. We have a huge wind vane down here at the University of Delaware in Lewis that turns at maybe 60 revolutions per minute in high wind. So it's safe that way, but it costs a fortune to build, and it takes up a lot of space, and of course it's going to wear out. We really want energy forms that don't wear out. Tritium reactors don't. Tritium would eventually deplete, and we'd have to replace it. But it's a very renewable form, not renewable, re-implementable In other words, you fill up the tank again. Form of energy. What else? We have wind, solar. The only form of solar energy that I know of that actually works is passive solar, and that's to design the house, the building, in ways that it collects solar energy itself. But commercial buildings don't need energy. They got the opposite problem. That they need lighting, and they get too much heat because of the people and the lighting. So they need to get rid of energy. So they're just the opposite. We could probably we can join the two, and I've done that on some of my projects. So the downstairs is commercial, and the upstairs levels are residential, and that's a great way to go in the wintertime. In the summertime, that doesn't really make much difference, but in the wintertime, you need heat. Even in Delaware, we need quite a bit of heat. The average temperature here in the wintertime is somewhere around 40, 50 degrees, and in the summertime, of course, it gets up to as high as 100. And people go to the beach. That's a beach building, by the way. People go to the beach and they need cooling. They don't need heating. So even though it's a good answer to wintertime living, it's not a particularly great answer for summertime. And what else do we have? Let's see. We got wind, sun. Solar energy is food. I've talked about that in other parts of this. I will talk about it a good deal more. But solar energy is electromagnetic waves that our body actually eats. And not only do we use it, we use a lot of it. Even if you wear clothing, which we shouldn't probably be doing, but if we wear clothing, and we do, it your body gets about 1 inch of penetration after it gets through your clothes, unless you got on some really interesting stuff that keeps it from happening. So we actually make, as a population in the United States right now, about 2/3 of our food from the sun, and people don't at all realize that. It's really an important contributor to all that you get. Now you take that aside, and you start to wonder, how does anybody ever go on a diet and change that 1/3 into something that makes a difference? They can't. What you can do is you can go on a diet and make yourself healthy, and if you're healthy, you're not going to gain excess weight. But most people don't look at it that way. They want to take the short form, and it's human nature. We want to take the short form, the easy way out, and a lot of times it gets down to even not eating at all and not worrying about the sun either. So we end up some of especially young girls who gain too much weight and want to lose weight fast, and what they do is they just stop eating food. Next thing you know, they're sick as a dog and in the hospital. You can't go from no food to from eating food, and especially the kind of diets that we eat, and go into not eating and expect to stay well. Anything that you do as far as health and food must be done slowly. You have to make transitions. Your body just is not ready to jump from not from food and the garbage that we eat into a no food diet.